In this video, you're going to learn about generative engine optimization. To you and me, that is, how do we get our company and our content found and referenced in LLMs like ChatGPT, Claude, and Gemini? Let me just give you an example about what I mean here. This was posted by the CEO of Vercel just earlier this week. And in the video, he shows how Grok is referencing a Vercel blog that was posted just less than 24 hours before. And he's making the point that focusing on how to get your content referenced by these tools in very short time frames is critical to driving traffic to your website. Now, if you've got a website, you're surely familiar with SEO, or search engine optimization. And this has been a skill that companies have crafted over many years to help get your articles and content surfaced in search engines such as Google and Bing. And now what we're talking about with GEO, or sometimes called AIEO or AEO, is how do we get the same types of content surfaced in the responses that ChatGPT provides. It's a whole new skill and a different way of thinking. Why does it matter? Well, it is increasingly becoming important to driving traffic to your website. It is still small today. We're talking some single-digit percentages compared to the traffic that is coming from Google and other search engines, but it is increasing fast. This report on TechCrunch saying that the top websites are seeing a 357% increase in traffic coming from AI platforms. And this report from SEMrush looks out into the future and says that by 2028, just 3 years' time from now, the amount of traffic that companies are going to see coming from LLMs is going to overtake what would come from traditional organic search. So whilst it might not be impacting significantly the traffic that's coming to your website today, it is now that you need to put the plans in place and get the skills in place to make sure that you can capitalize on this. I, for one, cannot even remember the last time I went to Google and searched for something. If I need information, I need recommendations, I need advice, I'm going to an LLM to do that. So, how to get found? Well, firstly, it's important to just have a quick think about how LLMs find content to be referenced and cited in their responses. And there are really three main stages. So the first is when they train the base model. And this can happen months or even a year in advance to that model being released. At the time of recording this, GPT-5 has just been released. And so GPT-5 will have been in a pre-training for months before. And this is where they are training that model on a set of internet websites, on books, on publicly available content. And that is how they get the model to understand and function. Having trained the base model, they then do post-training. And this happens both within the company, but also as they start rolling it out to pre-release and out into the full market. And this is where every time you see a response that comes from the LLM, you might see a thumbs up and a thumbs down. So every time you engage with that, you're reinforcing the model about what is good and what is bad. Every so often, you might see two options come up, especially in ChatGPT, where we're looking at which model, which response do you prefer? And so this is that reinforcement by human learning, or reinforcement learning from human feedback, I should say. And then the third part when LLMs are finding this content is at the point of use. So when you're using web search through your LLM, or these tools are running background crawlers where they're automatically pulling in this kind of information on a regular basis. And if I take back that Vercel example, this is what had happened. Grok already had that website and that content available. It wasn't going out to search. It was just citing it because it had been pulled in through one of these background crawlers. So this is important to know, that we are both coaching these models, the models that are being built today that are only going to be released in future, But we also want to provide content that the humans, when they're using it, can reinforce these machines and say, right, that was a great response, and that is going to further train the model to use our information. So here are some techniques. Now, what I would caveat is this is a very early skill and behavior that companies are working through. I don't have all of the answers. All I can share is what I'm seeing is working well for ourselves and for our clients. So number one, write for the machines. We are so used to writing for humans. Are we going to put in some nice graphics? Maybe we're going to put in some heavy JavaScript that is going to make a nice sort of dynamic page. Maybe we're going to put it as a PDF. Maybe we're going to gate that content so that we can capture someone's email when they read it. These are all bad things for helping LLMs to understand our content. So use clear heading structures. You should be doing this anyway, but H1s, H2s, H3s, clear tags that help the model to scan and find out what each bit of your content includes. Consider using very structured content, so bullet points, numbered lists, step by step. Step 1, do this. Step 2, do that. Step 3, do this. And tables that structure that information. It makes it very easy for an LLM to pass that information and to pull it into its knowledge base. As I mentioned, heavy JavaScript or dynamic content that the human needs to engage with is not great. So think about much more sort of plain text. Avoid gating content. We don't want someone to need a password to be able to get in to get that. And I'd also start to think about this concept of dark content. So content that is not even intended for humans to read. It is just there in pure Markdown or pure HTML for the machines to read. And so here you might have a human readable article at article / here's our new blog post, but then also another dark page, articles / here's my article / markdown, which is intended just for the LLMs to read. Now, secondly, having made your content readable by the machine, why are they going to cite your content over anyone else's? So think about writing for quotability. Think about things that are uniquely coming from you. So factual statements based on the data sources that you're sat on. Maybe you've got some statistics or some reports or ways of working. Maybe you've got some specific definitions that are relevant to your industry, your sector. So what you want to do here is to blend this authority. I've got some information that you cannot get from anywhere else with a human tone that makes it really engaging, because that is obviously what people are going to AI tools to get. So think about avoiding AI blog slop. What I mean by this is you may have, prior to AI, you may have been outsourcing content to some offshore blog shop and just getting generic, top 10 things to think about X, top trends for 2025 for Y. This is just blog slop. And now it's even easier to create this stuff with AI. This is not going to get referenced in the LLMs because anyone can create it. So when I think about what makes something have authority, I think about, would I read it? Would I learn from it? And would I share it with someone else? And I think you can think of blog posts either on other people's sites or yours where you go, I wouldn't read that, I wouldn't learn from it, and I wouldn't share from it. I know exactly how this has been created. And then you think about something that you would really learn from, some authoritative site about some technology or platform or country that you're trying to learn about. And that is the type of content that you want to create. So put yourself in the mind of the ChatGPT user or the Grok user, the Gemini user or the Claude user. What are the questions that that person is going to be asking? Not specifically about your product, but about your category, about their role, about the world that they're in, and then answer those users' questions with authority. And if you can provide these structured guides, facts, details that they cannot get anywhere else, then this is the kind of content that the LLMs are soaking up. Third technique is to really help the machines know where to look. The internet is a big place. Your website is probably a very big place. So help them know where to look and what to look for. So one of the things that you can do is to add schema markup. Now, if you've got a website with a webmaster, and you may well be doing some of these things already today, but with a platform or a technique like schema.org, you can add in context to each of your articles to basically explain exactly what this page is. It's an FAQ, or it's an article, or it's a guide, who wrote it, and what are the key elements of that. Now, you can either do this natively through schema.org, or there are plugins available for most web platforms. If you're on WordPress or Squarespace, you'll be able to plug these things in. And this really helps the LLMs and search engine platforms to understand what is on each page. The next thing is a new proposed standard for guiding LLMs specifically to your most important content. So you may be familiar with a few other things. So robots.txt you should have on your website. That guides search engines around your website. Your sitemap.xml, this is listing the pages that your search engines should be indexing. Schema.org, I've just mentioned, helps them to understand what is on each page. And LLMs.txt is specifically about guiding LLMs to that content. And you're going to place this in the root of your website. I say it's a proposed standard. It has not been officially adopted by OpenAI or Anthropic, but increasingly it's being used and put onto many websites. So what does this look like? Well, this is the LLMs.txt file for Kowalah. And it's just a plain text, markdown file that explains a bit about what we do. It provides direct links to some of our key important resources, and it provides some information that is unique and authoritative about our plans, the ICP that we sell into, with the goal being that if there's one page that an LLM is going to index and come to and find out whether it's worth digging deeper into this website, this is the page. So super easy to create. And whilst it's a proposed standard, there's no downside to adding an LLMs.txt to your website. The next thing I would encourage you to take a look at is just to double check that your website and your web content is not being blocked from being indexed by the LLMs. It's really funny that when we're speaking to clients and they're rolling out ChatGPT Team or Enterprise, they're rolling out Gemini or Claude, one of the things they're fearful of is, when we put our content in there, is it going to be indexed, and is the model going to be trained on it? And of course, if you are putting in customer information, private commercial information, you don't want the tools to be training on those models, training on that information. But when it comes to marketing and sales, we absolutely want these models to be training on our information. We want to be referenced. But there's two different sides to this. And so on the 1st of July, Cloudflare, who's one of the biggest sort of hosting and content delivery networks, announced that they were blocking AI crawling by default unless you turn it on in your settings. And so you might want to just take a look, whether you're with Cloudflare, Akamai, Fastly, AWS CloudFront, or anyone else that is hosting or fronting your website, that the default is not to block AI crawlers, because if it is, then you're not going to be getting any of that traffic coming through. Now, that was all about helping you to get found by the LLMs. Another thing that you can do, which is slightly different, is to actually just make it easy for the humans that are coming to your website. And you'll see this increasingly on technical documentation pages, where but people are thinking, like, what is it that I actually want to do when I go to a website? Maybe I go to a technical documentation website, or maybe I go to a new report or bit of research that has been done. Maybe I go to a new PDF that has been created by a vendor that I'm considering. What is it that I actually want to do with that content? Is it to print out that PDF and read it quietly in my own leisurely time? I don't think so. Is it to sit in front of my laptop like this and spend an hour as I go through and read this content? I don't think so. What I actually want to do is to just take that content, chuck it into ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini and go, summarize this, or help me mash it up with some of my own content and understand how I can make this relevant to my own business. So that's what people are doing. So how do you make it easy for the human to do that? So you can either, depending on your web hosting platform, you might have a simple component that you can add on like this. We use Mintlify for our documentation site, and it has a simple component that you can configure. Or you can just create a nice, easy React component in your website that will allow you to do this. Either to copy the content as a markdown that you could then put somewhere else, or this open in ChatGPT or open in Claude. What that does is just creates a simple prompt that says, go to this site and help me discuss what is on this web page. So just as a reminder, this is not helping other companies in future to find your website, but it's helping this user in this moment to engage with your content. Final thing to remember, ChatGPT is 85% of the LLM market by usage. So when most of your employees, most of your customers are thinking about AI, they're thinking ChatGPT. And ChatGPT is partially owned and has a big partnership with Microsoft. And they use Bing as the search engine that they use behind the platform. So good SEO practices, they cover all search engines anyway. So all of the things that you'd be doing about on-page SEO or off-page SEO are all important. But you might have not so considered Bing because it's a lower proportion of your web traffic. So I would consider going there, making sure that you're using the Bing webmaster tools, that you've submitted your sitemap there, that if there's any important new articles or blogs or bits of content, that you're using the URL submission tool to help that with indexing. And maybe make sure that you've got schemas created using that schema.org for your core FAQ, how to, and your guide pages. Really help Bing to know what's there, and that is going to help ChatGPT. So let's bring this back to today. What is it that you could do today to really help drive your findability in these LLMs? Number one, write high value, authoritative content that really talks to your customers about what they should be doing to help them be successful in their business. Content that they could only get from you and is not just AI generated slop that anyone could create. Number two, make it easily consumable by the LLMs. So think about writing dark content, think about less styling, think about highly structured with tables and bullet points and numbered lists to make it easy for the LLMs to parse it. And then make it easy for the LLMs to find. Make sure your website's not being blocked. Make sure you've got an llms.txt, schema.org. Make it easy for them to find. Now, ultimately, for me, if I had $1,000 to spend on this, I would spend 995 of it on writing high quality content. As has always been with SEO, write great high quality content, and that will continue to compound as it goes on. So focus on thinking about who in your organization has got the knowledge that your prospects or your customers are looking for, and get that content written in an easily consumable and easily findable way. Now, for more kind of advice and guidance like this, I'd encourage you to check out Kowalah. Kowalah acts as your digital chief AI officer. It's designed for CEOs and other senior leaders that are trying to drive their organization forward into this world of AI. And there are tons of tasks and typical requests that we get that are all pre-built here, of which how do I get my company found in AI is just one of those. Go to kowalah.com. You'll get 5 free chats. You can sign up and figure out how we can help you on your AI journey.